All right, Sebas. So for tonight's versus battle, I want to ask you the two movies that are competing today, Warrior and Red Belt. Why did you choose these two movies?
Okay, Pablo, today I pick Warrior, the 2010 movie where we see some of the first or before they were famous, Joel Edgerton and Tom Hardy, and with a Oscar-nominated performance by Nick Nolte. And the other one is Red Belt, written and directed by David Mamet, the famous screenwriter and playwright. And this is also when Chiwetel Ejiofor, the famous actor as well, were more famous. So it was also an interesting combination of mixed martial arts movies.
Okay, Johnny, this one's got your number on it. Let's jam.
Welcome to CinemaJam Versus, a podcast where Pablo and I pick a movie of the week. We have two movies of the week, and we decide, okay, which one we're going to keep and which one we're going to destroy forever off the map. This week, we will be talking about two MMA movies when that craze of the MMA world, the UFC was growing in the United States. So these movies came out in a time where everyone was talking about MMA, boxing was on the down. But it's interesting because one of them, actually, Warrior, came out a year after The Fighter. That was one of those big Oscar contender movies. So Warrior is probably very focused on getting those Oscar nominations.
Let's start with the fight, and then we can talk about anything else that we want to add about the situation, the context that the movies came out later after the battle round. So, are you ready, Sebas? I have a few questions to ask you.
So since this is a new podcast in our channel, we are telling our listeners, please subscribe, participate on the comments. We are always looking for new movies to add to the versus. You can search for us as CinemaJam Pod in YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere, or in social medias like Facebook and Instagram. Let's jump into the rounds then, Pablo. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Let's do this. So, round one. Story and script. So, Sebas, which of the two movies had the tighter plot and which one dragged or surprised you the most?
I do believe that the script by Gavin O'Connor, well, it has many screenwriters, Gavin O'Connor, Anthony Tambakis, Cliff Dorman, and a story by Gavin O'Connor and Cliff Dorman. The team of Warrior, is a little bit better. It's supposed to surprise. I mean, it's trying to get you like, oh, they are brothers in the end. These brothers are going to meet in the last one. So it's a very Hollywood ending. But I did like that. I did think it was a little more interesting how it is involved, how did evolve the story. Redbelt, it was very dramatic. After watching it again, Colin just getting the hook. I like the fighting. I like the scenes. The action is pretty good. But I don't know. The story was a little bit. I didn't felt as good with the story, especially because it's that betrayal of the wife, the brothers-in-law, and the family of the wife. Basically, is like, okay, what is happening here? What about you? Which one do you like better?
Okay, so I think Warrior is a simpler story. There are less elements than in Red Belt. Like you were saying, there are like illegal bets and this inner fighting between the wife. There's the whole storyline about the lawyer that doesn't add up anything to the story. So Red Belt, to me, was a real big disaster in terms of a storyline. Warrior is a bit tighter, way more tighter than Red Belt, but also like very predictable. Like you just need to look at the poster, sales, and then you know what's gonna happen. You don't need to, I mean, that's it. The moment that I know that you find out that the two of them are brothers, then yeah, there you go. It would have
And you find it pretty
surprised me
fast.
if it would have surprised me if, for example, one of the brothers, the teacher, would have actually lost the qualifying round. And it was like the brother fighting for him and trying to, bring the money to save the house. it would have been like maybe like a different, like more interesting, alternative in the
Development.
story. Yeah, like alternative storyline, but yeah, whatever. Warrior is the tighter plot for sure.
So in Warrior, the surprises are more around the story of Tommy. So maybe when in the acting we can talk a little bit more about that. But I guess his background is what really surprises, because nobody knows really his background, and is the thing that we're finding out during the movie, right? Basically, until the last 10 minutes, we found out the reality of his background.
Okay, so we give 1 point to Warrior. That's round one. Let's move on to round two, characters and acting. So, Sebas, who stole the show? Who was the better cast character and acting wise? Who did the best job? And also, who was the more, underused character, or who was the miscast actor or actress in the movies?
So I always think that Chiwetel Ejiofor is a great actor. I always loved him from the first time I saw him in Serenity, the Firefly TV series. They made a movie, and that's the first time I saw him in that movie. And from there, he always, was in my mind. And he is the more dramatic. But I do believe that when you realize that this was one of the first, like the second or third Hollywood movie made by Tom Hardy, you really understand why he became like the type of actor that he became. I think this movie came around the time, or I think maybe before Inception. So we still haven't seen really like anything from Tom Hardy, like anything big from him. But actually, it's after Inception. So in Inception, he's actually more like he's not a big guy, a muscular guy like in this one. So I actually think Tom Hardy steals the show in this round.
I don't agree. I think Nick Nolte steals the show. Like,
Okay.
is
Yeah.
one of the performance that actually saved the movie for me, Sebas. Like watching Nick Nolte playing the role of the father in Warrior. He's an amazing actor. Like I've always liked him, but at the age that he shows in this movie, because I mean he's old, like he's I think more than 80 maybe, or like in his late 70s maybe, and he's playing this recovering alcoholic dad trainer who has a strained relationship with his sons. Like the whole like story arc there is the one that works really well. Like the reconciliation between him and
His two sons.
especially with Tom Hardy, like the scene where he's reciting Moby Dick in the hotel.
All drunk in the hotel.
That was actually amazing. That for me was what saved the movie. I didn't find any acting in Redbelt stand out. I'm sorry, I just didn't see it. I'll give it this point to Nick Nolte.
No, I completely agree. I mean, he is the best acting in all the two movies. Yeah, to be honest, and he was Oscar nominated for that. When you ask me, I was thinking more about the main characters. I wasn't thinking about the secondary actors. And of course, Nick Nolte is a very secondary actor, but he's the best actor in there. But yeah, what I meant that was from the main actors, and in that case, I actually think Tom Hardy is the better.
Yeah, actually, Tom Hardy did also a very, very good job. Yeah. Who was maybe like the one that didn't do a good job, actor or actress, or miscast? Like who had the least contributing role in any of the movies? I have my own position on this. Whomever did the lawyer in Redbelt,
Emily Mortimer.
Yeah, I mean, you could have cast whatever, like the first person that you pick from the street, and just like do these lines, and that's it. I mean, she has a moment in the movie where she mentioned that she was attacked, and it's like the least convincing moment ever. Like I didn't feel like I couldn't relate to that. So like it was really bad acting.
Yeah, Emily Mortimer is not a bad actress normally, but I don't know, when she was playing the lawyer, like in Control, she was better. Like when he was she was helping him because of some legal problems at the end of the movie. But at the beginning, yeah, I agree. She didn't felt real the way she reacted to every man touching her. I don't know. There was something missing there. I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so we agree. We give this point to Warrior. So
Especially
far,
for Nick Nolte.
especially for Nolte, and actually Tom Hardy did also a very good job. Let's move on to round number 3, Sebas. So round 3 is visuals and direction. Which of the two movies looked better, or age better? If because I mean there are movies, like older movies, like from 10 years ago at least.
Yeah, I was expecting more from David Mamet. I mean, I like a lot of his movies and his plays, but in this case, I will give it to Gavin O'Connor. I think he just did a better job. I mean, I'm not a really big fan of his work. I mean, The Accountant and The Accountant 2 are kind of bad movies. I mean, they are maybe so bad that they are good, but yeah, in this case, I guess Warrior is just better production, I guess. What do you think?
100%. I mean, if we also go by the part of the question that what movie aged better, I find Warrior to be more like a traditional, like solid drama, like Hollywood drama. Redbelt, I still don't get it.
Yeah,
I just finished it, watching it like 30 minutes ago, and I don't know. It felt like a TV movie done or co-financed by some people in Brazil. Like it didn't feel like as solid as a sports drama, like a traditional one, like Warrior. It felt like he was trying to say something more about martial arts and the concept of loyalty, and I don't know what. But it felt so short, Sebas, and like the final. Sorry, I'm going on a rant here. But at the end, when like things like the whole climax and this guy, the main actor, I'm forgetting the name, Chiwetel Ejiofor. Sorry, if I'm mispronouncing it. Like when he gets like the belt and the trophy from the Japanese guy, and he was about to say like a speech because he asked for the mic to be dropped, but then he doesn't say anything, and then he gets the red belt that is supposed to be like only one in the world for like that like crappy fight that he just had. I mean, come on, sis.
yeah. I think we're gonna mention the fight a little bit at the end
Yeah.
because I think we should talk about both ends. Maybe in the let's save it for like the wild cards.
Yeah.
So yeah,
If you just go by visuals and direction, I felt the dynamics, like the action sequences in Warrior were better directed than Red Belt. So let's move on. This round goes to Warrior.
and
I
it's
think it's a good job
more
from the
and it's
director.
and it's closer to a sport movie. You know,
Yes,
they have the
it is.
training montage, both brothers training at the same time. They have they show all the fighting. It has that kind of
Actually, Sebas, they actually have a montage like in the middle. Like
in the
when you
middle.
have
Yeah, they have.
yeah, with like an 80s type of soundtrack, and the two of them like doing their own training on their like with their respective
Very Rocky for yeah.
Actually, I thought that was like cheesy but fun. I liked it. Okay, round number 4: soundtrack and vibe. Which one of the two, I mean, soundtracks, I guess, would you actually put on Spotify?
I really like the music of Red Belt. I was actually listening to a little bit before today, and it's very guitar. It's very mellow. It's not the fighting one as Warrior is a little bit different. But in this one, at least from my side, I really like the music today. When I was rewatching it and then finishing watching it today as well, the music caught my eye, especially because before of the fight, when they were preparing, and the other guys were fighting, and it was interesting. It was interesting. Maybe not as arousing as the other one, but I really like. I mean, that's probably one that I might actually listen to in Spotify one time.
Sebas, let's give the point to Red Belt because I have no recollection
comment.
of regarding the soundtracks of the movies. It didn't make any sort of impact on
Big
me,
hint.
so I don't I don't have a say on this one. So if you think Redbelt is better, we can give the point to Redbelt. It's fine. Okay, number 5. Quotability and memorable moments. Which lines or scenes in either movie became cultural references or touchstones?
Well, both movies were not big cultural touchstones, so these ones will probably be the ones that actually, at least personally, will get you. I actually like a lot the fight between the Brazilian brother-in-law and the brother at the end, and I like the fight between the two brothers in the two movies. So that's the reason I actually picked these two movies, because I remember those fights at the end were very dramatic and very intense, and I I enjoy it. And I actually I had my own questions that I was going to ask you. Which fight was more engaging for you, brother versus brother, or brother-in-law versus brother-in-law?
Maybe we can save that for our wildcard round. But in terms of is there anything out of either movie that you would say is like like a line or like a scene that becomes like very important or relevant? So you're saying maybe the scenes in both are like the most relevant to to highlight?
So the two movies had a fight that was recorded when Tom Hardy kicked the ass of the guy with the tomahawk. It was recorded on social media, and they were posted in social media and YouTube, and that's that starts a whole story plot there, right? And I think if anyone would have taken the fight of Chiwetel Ejiofor, that fight in the bar, and put it on social media, I think it will also be like super popular, like when that guy punched Van Damme once in a bar and knock him out. Like it will be something like that today. So if this movie came out today, maybe that fight would be an example of a good bar fight.
I think in Warrior, like the fight scenes were more intense. Like you could actually tell that the director knew how to really like record action and the sequences, and like I would say that in terms of memorable moments, all the fights then in Warrior carried more weight. Like I said before, Sebas, like the final fight in Red Belt for me was a letdown. I was expecting more, to be honest. But I
So
mean,
we'll go with the
so we give the point. Okay, so we give the point to Warrior because of the multiple fights that we saw.
yeah. Sure. I mean, they do look more like what you see in TV. So yeah.
Yes, exactly. I felt like I was actually potentially watching like a real fight. Okay, and our last official round before we go to our wild card rounds is round number 6. Rewatchability. Which movie would you, Sailors, watch right away if you had 2 hours to spare?
Probably Warrior, to be honest. Yeah. The acting was just more compelling, and it actually felt a little bit close to home, the struggle of Joel Edgerton performing Brendan Connon. Actually, I felt something very close to what, like a father will be trying to do for his family and all that.
That's a fair point. I mean, it's a more relatable script
Struggle.
storyline. Yeah. Yeah. Let's give the point to Warrior. I agree. Starting with the wildcard rounds. The first one, the WTF moment. So, which of the movies had the most what the heck is this scene or moment, or the most ridiculous one as well? Like, what stood out for you?
Actually, Warrior, I think, has the two of them, because the moment that you mentioned already, Nick Nolte, when I mean, he has been controlling himself, trying to not drink any alcohol before that, and it's devastating when you see it, when you see him walking around completely drunk. It's a very hard to watch a scene. I think was like, oh my God.
I agree.
And the other one is when Brendan breaks or loses his brother arm or clavicle. I don't know what was it. It
Oh yeah,
was
on the shoulder. I think like it's
the
like his,
shoulder. I mean, he
yeah,
snapped it. Oh my God! It
yeah.
was like, holy crap! And he's trying to stop the fight because he knows he broke it, and Tommy's keep just going on. Oh my God, it was painful. But those two scenes are very hard to watch, and they are very at the end, basically, of the movies.
Yeah. Last one. Let's give that point to Warrior. I think they did a good job with those two moments. Okay, Sebas, next wild card. Plot hole Olympics. So, what movies, premise, a story collapses if you think too hard about it?
Basically, you mentioned the warrior, the lawyer in Redbelt, and at the beginning of the movie, basically like first 5 minutes of the movie, she get in and grabs a policeman gun and shoots it by accident. I don't think a policeman, I mean, the first thing that they teach them is to always have their gun with the safe on. She grabs it and it has no safety. It's ridiculous. It's something like, is no good policeman will have done that. I think that's the biggest plot hole of the movie, and it becomes a big deal.
Yes.
Even, getting
So,
suspended and all that is.
and actually, Sebas, like staying on Red Belt for a second, what was exactly the motivation for Tim Allen's role? Like, why did they give this guy, the karate instructor, like the stolen watch? I didn't get it. What was their motivation? What were they trying to do?
I think they didn't really plan to do it. It just shows that the producer or director of that works with Tim Allen, played by Joe Mantegna, or his name is Jerry Wise, to show that he's a sleazebag, that he's corrupt. He's the one that gave or bought the stolen watch using Tim Allen's money, basically. Only Tim Allen gave him $20,000 and he pockets, I don't know, 10,000 or something like that,
But you see that I still don't understand. Then was Tim Allen like a good
No, he was also an asshole. Yeah.
character or like a bad one? Because I didn't understand. Like, why was he trying to get the karate guy shoots? I'm forgetting his name. Chiwetel Ejiofor.
You
Like,
can say
why
Mike
was
Terry.
he?
Mike Terry.
Mike Terry. Yeah, Mike Terry.
Just say Mike Terry.
His character in the movie, the karate teacher. Sorry, the jujitsu, whatever that is. What
Brazilian
was he?
Jiu-Jitsu, yeah.
What was he trying to do with him? Sorry,
I guess
why would actually he try to get him in trouble if Mike Terry, the character, saved him from the fight in the bar? Like, I don't understand.
I honestly think that he wanted to help Mike Terry. I actually believe that. Is Jerry the one that set up the trap because he didn't want maybe sharing producing credits or whatever he wanted to give? Tim Allen wanted to give Frank, I think is the name. Whatever he wanted to give Terry, Jerry didn't want it. I mean, I guess he wanted to control him, keep him drunk, whatever. So he was basically manipulating. The asshole, I think, was Joe Mantegna. I mean, Tim Allen wasn't a saint, but at least he did. I do believe he wanted to help Mike
See
Terry in some way. Yeah.
that's where I see this whole movie is like a big mess. So I was like, none of that is like clear. Like none of that is like obvious.
No.
I mean, I tried to pay attention to the stories and try to make sure that there's like some logic or if the intent is for the story to be like a crazy story. When we watched Alejandro Jodorowsky, for example, that there's like a different type of logic behind it. But this is a traditional movie. This is supposed to be like a traditional, like a sports type of drama with some sort of a climax and resolution. I did not see any of that, to be honest, and I did not know exactly who were the bad guys, who were the good guys. Why did the good guys were put in a situation where they needed to fight back? Like, why was he actually joining the tournament to pay the bills
I
for the
don't.
legal?
Yeah, that also doesn't make sense. Rewatching it now, it didn't make any sense to me that he joined the tournament for $50,000 when he wanted $200,000.
Is the most frustrating movie sales I've watched in a long time, to be very honest.
Were they planning the trap for to get his wife, Sandra Terry, or played by Alicia Braga, was part of the trap that? I don't know. I wasn't really sure because she's the one that sold him out at the end. So
and for
at least that's what Jerry says, right?
And then for our viewers here, since we're, like, just like all mad about the plot holes in this movie, the judge, apparently they have like this judge. No, sorry, not a judge is like someone who wears a mask and is the one who's deciding if one of the fighters has a handicap. Like if they're not able like to fight, with both arms, or they have to have like a leg, like I don't know, like some sort of like handicap in the fight. There's a guy earlier in the movie that does like I don't know, that does like
He's a
tricks.
magician.
And he's the guy who's supposed to be like drawing the marbles that with different colors or black and white. And so he was supposed to do this magic trick in front of like so many people. It was supposed to be like this traditional type of tournament, like following like these customs from Japan. I don't know. It felt so stupid, honestly.
It was prearranged. Like, yeah, who will have the handicap and who will have the better chance of winning, so that they could bet. I mean, there were loan sharks. In the end, you didn't knew who was in whatever was happening. Yeah.
Okay, so let's give the point then to Warrior, since it's the one that was most consistent and had the least amount of stat holes better. So the last, I think there was one more wild card maybe, is any like scenes or any lines from the movies, Sebas, that you think would, make for a good like meme or a TikTok moment like today? Was anything that you think, would be reusable in today's social networks?
Come on, Tommy, it's over.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, not bad. Or
Tommy, it's over.
I love you, brother. I'm breaking your shoulder, but I love you.
It almost sounded too close to Rocky.
Yep, I agree. Okay, so let's do the sums. I'm updating our Google Sheet. So obviously the winner is Warrior by 7 points to 1 point for Redbelt. So, Sebas, we have a clear winner.
A landslide.
In this battle. Yeah, landslide, exactly. Okay, so that was it.
So which one, so at least do Warrior excites you to go to the gym and get that six-pack that you have always dreamed of?
Actually, I was surprised by Tom Hardy's physical transformation. Like, you can tell that the guy actually worked out for the movie. Like, he really, like, bulked up. Like, you can see he's huge, especially like after the training with his dad for like preparing for them. Because at the beginning, he looks like this guy, like, that is trying to get back into a routine, someone who has like alcohol or drug problems, but then he goes clean to train for the tournament and then becomes like this bull, man. Like, he's huge.
And if you watch Inception in 2010, this one in 2011, and The Dark Knight Rises in 2012, in The Dark Knight Rises he's even bigger. Even bigger. He's been bulking up, yeah. And after that, he made Max Fury Road. He's also quite huge. Okay, everyone, thank you very much for listening to today's Versus. We remind you again, please subscribe and share this podcast. This is something that we love doing, and we want to share it with the community, and we need more suggestions and more ideas. Okay, Pablo, what are the two movies that you're going to propose for next week?
Okay, so next Versus, I want us to compare two movies from the early to mid 80s, one from the UK, one from the US, both on the same topic: nuclear holocaust and the aftermath, the consequences from a nuclear war. So one of the movies is called Threads. It's actually a TV movie from the BBC, 1984, directed by Mick Jackson in the UK. A bunch of unknown actors, but it's one of the most devastating, psychologically heavy movies I've ever seen. This is something that once you watch it, you're never gonna forget about it. It leaves a mark. And I want to battle this movie against another movie with a similar premise called The Day After. When I saw this movie, The Day After, this is the American one. This is from a year before the other one, 1983, directed by Nicholas Meyer. Has some known names, amongst them Steve Guttenberg, the guy from the Police Academy movies, before he was actually like super famous. The Day After had also some implications in the politics at the time. So we'll talk about that in our next verses, which are going to put threats against The Day After in a battle of the movies.
Sounds quite interesting. Looking forward to it. So until next week, keep jamming about movies.
Thanks, everyone.